Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Somers Town Board regular meeting here on Thursday, September 8th at 7 o'clock. Before we start, I would like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patty, can we please start with some roll call?
Councilman William G. Faulkner.
Here.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchey.
Present.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico.
Here.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.
Here.
Supervisor Rob Scranton.
Here. All right, I'd like to make a motion to open up public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Is there anybody here for public comment out here in the audience or on Zoom?
Sir.
We have
Sir.
the Zoom. We have people are televised Zoom. So,
But you're live.
but you're live, so we'll have you come up here
Defer to you.
first. All right. If-
Let's keep it up.
You
for a
got an
while,
hour?
right?
Yeah. Yep. Before you start, why don't you say your name,
Name and address?
name and address?
Speaking to the mic, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for having these people here tonight to talk about what's the mediation. If you like services swiftly on following up on what they can do for us.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. I just to say one thing about Jay. Jay's been very persistent here about Lake Shenorock, and I think you've been in my office almost every single week, mostly Fridays. Yes, and as I told these guys, I always have a great Friday, but I just wanted to have these guys have the opportunity tonight to say that. So I appreciate you coming, and we'll get to those guys in a few minutes. So thank you so much. Anybody here else for public comment? Nope. Then I'd like to make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Pat, did you have minutes?
I didn't get them to you in a timely fashion, so we're gonna do them all next month.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Patty, do we have any department reports?
We do. I have reports from the town clerk, building inspector, zoning board of appeals, plumbing, bureau, fire prevention, parks and recreation, planning and engineering, tax receiver, and director of finance.
Great. So let's go to business of the board here. So the town board, let me give a little bit of an update again for COVID-19 update. Active cases are 71 here in the town of Somers,
Wow, that's great.
and that is 4 new cases. I think last week was right around 75, so we're still hanging to that number. Cumulative for all of Westchester County is about 6,251 cases. So that brings us up to our number 2, our item here, Lake Shenorock Revitalization presentation, Alejandro Reyes. And he's from Aquatic, Ecologist, Northeast Aquatic Research, LLC. So if you like to come up to here and state your name and the company you work for, it'd be great.
Super spreader.
That's good.
So once again, I would like you to thank you guys for inviting me. My name is Alejandro Reyes or AJ, either one is fine with me. I'm an aquatic ecologist and certified lake manager. My previous position was at aquatic research, but currently as of this meeting, I'm between a new consulting company, doing the same exact work that I'm doing, and that I've been doing all around Putnam and Westchester for the past 2 years. Just under a different banner, working for GEI Consulting. So Luke Travassi over there, he works for GEI Consulting, so he can answer questions about their particular inner workings and anything like that. So I'm a certified lake manager and also a consultant. And what we try and do with lakes and ponds all across Putnam and Westchester, really across New York, is to try and help lakes realize their greatest desired uses. So any sort of lake that's out there is being used by people for all these different things: fishing, boating, swimming, and it's the backbone. It really is the foundation for a lot of strong memories for people, the way kids grow up and learn about these lakes for community togetherness. I mean, I grew up on Lake Osceola, and I used to fish on there as a little kid. I used to wait for the harvester to come by to clear off the weeds so I can get my line out there. So lake management really is kind of the discipline of taking the science of what we know, which is extremely complicated science that has to do with biology, chemistry, physics, but also marrying that with the stakeholders and the users of the lake. Lakes in this area, especially in the Westchester area, face a lot of unique challenges, specifically the overdevelopment of our watersheds, which puts a lot of different pollutants and a lot of different stresses on the water bodies that makes it really hard to swim and fish and boat and do all the things that we have enjoyed doing on these lakes in years past. So my job as a consultant is to come in and assess the particular situation of a lake and come up with the best recommendations that I can to remediate the lake in a way where it's maximizing the desired uses. Now, some lakes, just quite frankly, are, for lack of a better word, a little too far gone to bring all the way back to a pristine state. Most lakes in this area will probably never look like, let's say, an Adirondack lake, where you can see all the way down 25, 30 feet. However, lakes can get back to a point where people can still enjoy them fishing and swimming and such. So going on to over Lake Shadowrock, Jay called me about a month and a half ago. We had a nice long conversation just talking about the lake and talking about some of the challenges. I'm familiar with this area. I grew up in Putnam Valley. I have a lot of clients both in the Putnam Valley area, also in Carmel, and some areas around here as well, as well. So I am very familiar with some of the issues on the lake. So what I would propose, at least for Lake Shadowrock, is my specialty is to do evaluations. And partially why I like specializing in evaluations is because I believe that the best way to do management is to the best of your ability, divest yourself from the actual management techniques that you would implement. Right. So I'm not a certified applicator. I am not a certified aeration expert, certified aeration installer or anything. So when I go into a lake, I basically just assess the conditions. I report back to the particular group, either it's the residents or the town or both, however it's set up. And I give my best thoughts on what we think can make the lake better. And then I help the town or the community sort of move forward with different contractors to be able to achieve that. But I'm not the one to do that. And I think that's very important because I'm not here to sell you on one particular product. There's a lot of other companies out there that will tell you that aeration is the best solution, or that diver harvesting is the best solution. You can only solve the lake by dredging, right? In reality, every lake is different. Every lake's going to need a different response, and the response is really tailored to itself. So that's my job, is to come in and kind of look at things at a holistic.
Sorry to interrupt. We're having a little trouble hearing you.
Sure.
Speak more into the mic. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so my job is to take more of a holistic look at the entirety of the situation, and also what the residents have told me about what they're trying to look for, and then come up with a solution. So particularly for Lake Shadowrock, it's a very shallow lake, and there's a highly developed watershed around that lake. I mean, I've driven off Tomahawk. I can't tell you how many times. So I'm relatively familiar with this area. Shallow lakes that have a lot of watershed area that can put a lot of different pollutants into those lakes are really in a tough spot, because it does take a lot of effort to bring them back to a point where they're using it. So it's not going to, like any recommendations that we give are probably not going to be something that's cheap. And it's just the nature of the way the lakes are set up. Every lake is different. However, I do think that, working both in the watershed and in lake, just depending on what the lake data is telling us, we can get to a point eventually where the lake is not, basically unusable for the entire year, which is what, Jay has been, telling you about.
True.
So basically the strategy that I would like to propose, and normally when clients contact us during the middle of the year, we usually like to do a full year assessment, because the information that we would collect in the lake in April is extremely important, but it's different than what we would find in July and what you would find in August. Anytime you look at any water body, you drive by Hamilton, it's going to look much different in May than it's going to look in August. It may look a little greener, it may look a little clearer. All that stuff is really important. So what we like to do with groups that like to contact or that decided to contact us in this July timeframe is we like to do a single visit in the September timeframe. Just enough for us to get out there, see the lake for ourselves, take some notes, do a little bit of a drive along the watershed, just to see where some of the issues are. and write up a very short summary letter with some quick, short-term recommendations. Just to sort of get everyone on the right foot, with the idea that there would be a larger sort of monitoring effort into that next year to really sort of categorize what's going on. I can give short-term recommendations on one visit, but it's honestly unprofessional and almost borderline unethical in our field to ask you guys to spend, $150,000 on project A, $300,000 on project B, but only seeing the lake at one particular time. Right, so what our strategy is, let's see the lake once, let's take some notes, let's work on some short-term stuff, that maybe there's things we can do to sort of alleviate some of the issues that are happening right now, but then sort of work towards maybe a longer-term monitoring program. When I say longer, I really just mean for this next year, a more intensive monitoring program that can get us the answers that we want. So if the town of Somers, is deciding, hey, we think aeration is the way we want to go, but this aeration system is going to cost $30,000, $40,000. At least after that year, we'll have enough good solid data to say, hey, this is a good solid investment that's going to have a high likelihood of getting the outcome we want. Or we could say, well, we don't really think the lake is telling us that it's not really the best bet. So that's kind of all I have here. I've worked in this area for a while. I've worked with some other lakes, so I can take questions about those. I can just take questions about our general approach.
I have a question for you. So the ultimate end game, right? When you talk to some of the residents in that area in Lake Shenandoah, right? What are you even finding out their ultimate use that they want for that lake? Is it to get full back, Jay, also to get back to the full activity of the swimming back there aspect? Or is it just to be able to?
Swimming probably beyond the pale, but make it a pleasant thing to look at.
Want to tap up to just tap up there? Yeah. Or you can answer the two, right, Alejandro? If you like as well.
Trail around it, looking comfortable, have it looking sad. If it's something that the fire department might be willing to get behind, I'm looking for pavers, just.
Yeah.
Gotta be some money out there, so we're not talking about a lot of money. Other than what I was told, $6,000 or $7,000 for the areas.
It depends on the time.
Just move up. Yeah.
But what you're talking about is just your proposal is a little under $3,500 to go do the study and then to come back to us and say, here, in my opinion, is what you should do. You should do aerators, or you should do some other process. And then we would go out and talk to some, put a bid out possibly to see who can do it. That your part is the first part.
Yeah, that's mostly correct. The first initial set of recommendations are going to be a little coarse. And the reason why they're going to be coarse is because we need to see the lake really in its entirety throughout the entire season to give you good recommendations. So one recommendation to expect, let's say at the end of this particular, end of the $3,500 scope would be, recommendations about prioritization of septic system management. Would be prioritization of stormwater management in different areas on a generality. Maybe quickly ruling out a few techniques that we can safely rule out just by seeing the lake. For example, there's a lot of people that like to use sterile carp that can go in and actually eat the vegetation on a lake. I can tell very quickly from a site visit if that's going to be something that's actually worthwhile to even think about pursuing, or just to drop it completely.
So in your my mic sounds weird, doesn't it?
It's a little loud.
I'm this far away and it's still loud.
It's that one.
Can you check my mic, bud? It just seems to be very loud and ringing.
Yeah.
So this okay.
20 minutes up there.
So this $3,500, what's again, you're talking about the season or the course. How long is that?
For the 3,500?
Yeah.
That's just for our initial site visit and the summary letter and it's our initial site visit. It's the nutrient testing that we're going to be doing. So we're going to send some samples out to the lab to be tested for nitrogen and phosphorus.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the two primary nutrients that make the lakes look green.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, and then also the summary letter, which is going to include our recommendations.
So you would come out one time in say September, and then you would come back again in April?
Yeah, so what we do is we come back in September, and then based on what the data is telling us, we will design a monitoring program that will probably include it's going to include some sort of a spring, summer, fall. Now, if it's 3 visits, 5 visits, that all depends on what we see in the lake. So for example, if we see a harmful algae bloom that's out in the lake currently in that time in September. And we go and start talking to some residents and talking to the town and saying, well, this kind of bloom has been happening for a while. That we're gonna wanna tailor our monitoring towards that, because that's a really big use impairment, not just for swimming, right, but for boating and fishing. So that would be a different scenario versus if the lake is really, let's say, plant dominated, right? Because then we may not need to go out as much. Maybe we only do a sampling in April, May, and July versus April, May, all the way out. So we have to really look at what the lake is telling us during this first visit, be able to come up with a good strategy to monitor in the future, because with monitoring, we obviously want as much data as we can, but we also need to be cognizant of what, the town's budgets are, and also not
Well-
wasting any of this monitoring.
We're very cognizant of the town's budget. So that's my question so the $3,500 is for the first trip. And then the next time you come to monitoring and all that sort of stuff, will be extra costs, I assume.
Yes, so the 3,500 is the trip. It's also the written summary letter and my recommendation, my short-term recommendations moving into the next year.
Well, there've been various initiatives that we've done around the lake communities. I think we've actually put some stormwater remediation work around Generock, right?
We
Some
did the
grant
path
money.
and we did some boxes, I think.
And at one point in time, we were trying to get grant money as an intercoastal waterway. And the discussion was about dredging the lake and removing the algae blooms. Our engineering firms and departments, there's things at our disposal that I think can describe some of the issues and some of the remediation steps, but it's sort of fallen off our radar screen. I mean, we're going to put a sewer system in there. The whole idea was to get some management and to reduce the impacts from, the septic systems overflowing and the phosphoruses that were flowing into there. So there was some East of Hudson money that was associated with that as well. So, I mean, my first step would almost be to go back to our engineers and say, where are we with this? And what do we know?
Well, that was my question. You've seen the lake? And I think we had some plantings around the lake to remove some of the pollutants that were going in. I think we've done that. I think Anthony's right. Not much else. But you've seen the lake, but have you read any of the things that have been done in preparation for what we had hoped to be a sewer district? Or have you done any research like that on what exists, or spoken to our town consulting engineer? Just wondering.
No, we have not done any of that. And the hope is that during the winter time, after I actually do my assessment, I would reach out to the people, in those positions to be able to talk about those sort of things. So for example, one of the things we're going to be proposing is taking samples from the inlets for phosphorus and nitrogen. So if we get those numbers back and those numbers end up being pretty high, especially the nitrogen numbers, that would be a perfect place to talk to the engineer about kind of where the stormwater, how the sort of stormwater network flows into those inlets.
I'm pretty sure they have some numbers, so at least you could compare if you had. current
possibly,
numbers.
If the data is relevant, we could definitely make this comparison. The idea is that whatever data we collect is gonna be sort of a building block, start moving towards, kind of working with the engineers to sort of kind of have a little bit of a synergistic relationship. But sometimes with engineers, a lot of the time, their focus, just because that's what their training is, their focus is sort of moving the water away from different places. However, as an ecologist, my primary concern is sort of the quality of that water entering the particular water body. So when engineers and ecologists sort of work together in synergy, that's when the best sort of outcomes come into place, right? So if we see high nutrients that are flowing into from those streams, I'm not an engineer, so I'm not going to be able to have the expertise to design a very specific system at that particular place to be able to, achieve the goals that we want to achieve. But that's where, sort of that comes in. The other thing we can do is that a lot of times in these streams that flow into the lakes, there's a lot of septic systems influences into those streams as well, especially leach fields, let's say, that are at the same slope as either the lake or the streams. When their water table rises up, I know, that's the last few, outside of the last few days, I never still low. But that's a perfect opportunity for septic systems to really influence these areas. That's where there will be a collaboration between my group and, let's say, the Westchester County Health Department, see if we can identify some of these areas through these advanced stream testing. in the future. We've done that on a few different lakes.
So as a follow-up, so you were with Northeast Aquatic and now you're with GEI.
Yep.
I hope it's a better job.
Yes.
All right. And so could you, so how do you become an aquatic ecologist? What goes into that, your background there? And what other areas have you done this? You mentioned a few lakes around here.
Yeah, sure. So.
So how have you done this in
You
the
get
past?
into this by being outside. I mean, that's the first way you get into this, like I said. I used to fish off Glen Island and do a shell all the time, so I was around fisheries. My particular training, I have a bachelor's of science in ecology at SUNY Plattsburgh. And then after that, I spent time at the USGS working out of Bozeman, Montana. So I worked also in Alaska, in Nevada, and Illinois, and in Yellowstone. I spent actually 7 or 8 months in Yellowstone, out there. I also have experience down in North Carolina working on hydrilla, which is one of the nastiest invasive species we have. Worked on a large multiple use reservoir out there. I also have a master's in lake management from SUNY Mountain, which is the only school in the country that offers a specific program on lake management. And I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head, but I've probably authored 20, 25 different lake management reports / plans for clients both in Putnam, Westchester, but also in Connecticut and Indiana.
So as an aquatic ecologist, is that like a licensed professional or that's a general area of expertise?
So the aquatic ecologist is what I would describe myself as my expertise. However, I do hold professional certification. I'm a certified lake manager through the North American Lake Management Society, and so is Luke as well.
Yeah.
And this is a very strict and stringent certification. At the time that I got it, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, there was only about 100 in the entire country for certified lake managers. Is that correct?
100 in the entire country, and there's probably 8 of them in New York State.
One would imagine it's a growing field because of
Yes.
what's happening all around us.
Yes, definitely. I've basically worked on lakes and water for over 10, 15 years, more than 32, so. I don't have 30 years. Yeah, that's my general experience. Yes, I do hold that certification.
Would you be able to just forward your resume with that so
Sure.
we could see it? Just to the supervisor.
Does everyone have a copy of it?
We do.
No, we just
That's where I got the number. from.
Yeah, we just got it.
Last night, so.
Just got it, yeah.
We
last
just
night,
we just
today,
got it yesterday.
Whichever.
I thought I got it today.
Today.
Either way.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Look, what I'd say is that, lake revitalization's always been on our mind. I mean, it was more so on our mind when we were going through that sewer, project and a lot of discussion on how to remediate the lakes and what, that might have done to help that process. Now that that's behind us, I mean, I still think we have a commitment to the community
Oh, definitely.
to kind of work on this,
It's our lake.
in one shape or way. That's not only Shenorock, it's like Lincolndale.
But we own Generac.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we own Shenorock, but Lake Lincolndale, which is probably in better shape, but is starting to experience some of those issues. Like, I don't know that I can articulate them as a councilman, but, there may be stormwater issues and water runoff and phosphorus stuff. And then we also have,
Lake Birdies.
Lake Purdy's.
Mm.
So, I mean, this is
Great.
timely. You're putting it on the radar screen. I think, we take this away.
I think we need a little time to read the proposal, because like I said, we just got it.
Yeah.
Right,
No, I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, and
I'll follow back with a phone call with you, right, directly, kind of see what after we have the discussions, the process, what happens, right? And then kind of going from there and the recommendations, and then what would be the process after that, right? And kind of to Tony's point, for the revitalization of our lakes here in Somers, we are very much lake communities,
Yeah.
all over, and that's what makes us really unique. And I give my to Jay a lot of times, who's been on me for that, and
Jay.
you gotta love, the passion that he has, coming in, and he's throwing ideas at me all the time, and for him to speak very highly of you and your company and your organization, says a lot, right, to me, because I take him for.
Oh, I didn't even
for
know
what we
that.
have.
I didn't know that Jay was
Yeah.
recommending them and all. That
Yeah.
makes a big, that makes the big difference.
He was recommended to me by the guy who studied the lake.
Okay, great, thank you. Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so Jay's been, put us in put
Who
in contact.
studied the lake in, oh, in the summer.
The Lower Hudson Prison. It's a partnership for regional invasive species management.
Okay.
He spent a day on it. And he could glean some information he's already gathered.
Good.
Mechanical, samples and so forth.
And you're an invasive species specialist.
Yeah, so I'll try to speak up. So we get.
Oh, no, we have to
Yeah,
come
come
over.
up here.
I don't get it.
You know, we're a very grant-driven organization, and we're always looking for grants in this area as well.
Admitted working in-
Tell me about it. If we can only put our hands on that, if this qualifies.
Yeah, there's a lot of invasive species grants out there as well. Like AJ said, I'm CLN as well. Actually, we met each other in grad school. I have an invasive species background. I actually worked for Long Island Prison, so we're Devon's from the Lower Hudson. It's just actually past Suffolk, Kansas, Queens County down there. So I have a big invasive species background, both terrestrial and aquatic in the state. You know, a lot of work like this gets you eligible for future grants, whether it be invasive species work, water quality improvements. And the more work you put into them from the start, the better it looks for grant applications as well. So a lot of these things, when you start doing something that's going to be favorable for future grant applications, to get additional funding.
Understood.
And you are versed in invasive species, not just in the water, but that might be all over town.
Yeah, so I'm a jack of all trades, I put it on, so. Anything.
Qualify for the town board.
But I have a background in water specialist, wetland plants as well. We do a lot of wetland. Pragmatic management. Quite a bit.
We got a lot of invasive species. We were told by people who know more about invasive species certainly than me.
Yeah. we're in kind of the
Just a
hot
thought.
state.
Just a thought.
In the proposal, do we have a background of the company?
So what I did do is I have a couple of project sheets over here for similar work that we've done, whether it's lake management or this work. I'll kind of just leave them on the table.
That'd be great. No, we can leave them there. We can pick them up.
Sure, yeah, but we can send any other information.
Okay.
My resume as well. other stuff.
Yeah, as much as you.
Yeah, do so.
We could also give you flying references from some local lakes.
That
as
would be
well.
good.
That'd be
Fire.
really good,
Fire.
even better than Jay.
So you talk about 3,500. I'm just looking through just before the meeting and now. If you went through the whole year, then what are we talking about? Is that determined by what you do, or there's a ballpark figure so we know what we're discussing here?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you ballpark figures. So in lake management, if the town would like an actual plan, right, to fix a lake, this isn't not just, our company, but any company would ask for an actual plan. Plans to fix lakes in that official title could be anywhere from the $25,000 to $50,000 range, right? And now, obviously, there's a wide range in that because it depends on how it's watershed, and so on.
All right, but at least that gives us an idea what we're talking about.
For an assessment throughout the entire year, and then the observable reading maybe a short report or a presentation, usually that can run anywhere from, 9,000 to 13, 14, just depending on what, goes on. I mean, I'm very close to Lake Shenorock, right? And the lake is small and shallow. That means that, my time out there is not going to be as much as I'm traveling 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So that's going to be around that range. But once again, the minute you adopt, you set the plan onto it, that's when that goes up. And there's advantages to that, right? If you get a plan that's maybe built in sort of what we call a 9-element framework or an invasive species management plan or something like that, that actually directly qualifies you for grants at that particular time. However, I know that some towns don't have the funds to be able to do that all in one shot. So I've done phased projects for a few years where what we do is we keep giving recommendations on an annual basis, but we slowly build up the data collection to be able to get to a point where we're comfortable in writing a plan. So for example, any lake that gets managed, in my opinion, should have a complete map of the bottom of the lake. It should have a complete vegetation map, usually from 2 points in the year, complete water quality sampling, sediment sampling, and sampling in the watershed, plus a bunch of communications back and forth to nail down the side use. Obviously, sometimes clients and lakes can afford that money. Sometimes they can't. So if it ends up being something like that, you can always talk about phasing. You can do the most important things in the beginning and then sort of move forward. if that makes sense. So
That makes
that's
sense.
sort of the range, but there's a lot of play and flexibility.
Yeah, well, we got an idea from that.
At all.
So you give us a plan, our engineers would then work with you or whatever. Here's how we're going to implement that, or carry it out, or here's things we've already done, so you should know that. That's the way it usually works.
Yes, and one other thing I should mention is what we also do is a lot of times, so let's say you go to Lake Shadrack and you decide that aeration is the technique you want to use. Which is set. There's a whole bunch of companies out there qualified to install aeration systems and install oxygenation systems. However, oftentimes the towns don't have the expertise to craft the RFPs in a way that they get exactly what they want. What ends up happening is you get these bids that are completely different. I'm sure if you're just dealing with procurement, you understand kind of where I'm coming from. So one of the roles we have, we've done this for plenty of others, we did this for China Pond over in the Settlement Club in Kent, where we particularly help the towns and help the organizations craft the RFPs and actually talk with the outside engineering firms, even if it's not internal. And we help kind of guide them in the right way. So we're kind of your associate, your advocate in a way, your middleman in a way to these companies, because in my experience, if you don't have somebody that's in the middle kind of able to talk their language, you're either going to get bids that are wildly different, or unfortunately, you're probably going to get a company that they want to take advantage of a situation. Because there are companies out there that see these lakes as really desperate means, and they are very willing to sort of, sell whatever their product is and think that their product is going to, solve every single thing under the sun. And a lot of lakes fall into this trap. And, one role that we like to play is that kind of gate guardrail and say, hey, let's make sure that this is actually what is going to help achieve the town, what it needs, not just some flashy words or anything like that. And that unfortunately is a big problem.
But in that situation, like Shadrack, without even going to the analysis, I mean, we know that it's over. We know that there's, issues with the density there and the septic systems that have impacts on the lakes. And there's generally in northern Westchester, we're dealing with all the salting and stuff that goes on. And so are there things that could be done without resolving those things?
There definitely can. There's some certain options, especially, Jay talked about the aesthetic value of the lake. There's in-lake techniques that can be used to, in the short term, improve the aesthetics, if that's something you have to work in the watershed. The watershed is the ultimate source of all the pollution. However, lakes are not flow-through systems. Lakes are accumulators, right? So all this material that's in the bottom of Shadrack originated from the watershed, and a lot of it's still in.
So you got to get it out.
So that's one technique, is to get it out. One technique is to keep it on the bottom and make sure it doesn't right? And that stuff is a little bit more complicated to figure out. And that's where a lot of these visits come in, so you can sort of figure out, like, for example, aeration, is a technique that in some instances can help sort of keep the nutrients at the bottom, but there needs to be very specific conditions for that to actually happen, right? So yes, watershed is important, and it's important to know that kind of where the hotspots are. But there's still stuff that you can do in the lake to sort of improve things in the short term, while also keeping a long-term perspective. Can't do one of them. You can't just have a long-term perspective, because then people are going to get dissatisfied with the progress that's happening in the lake. Because to clean up a watershed, it takes a long time, a lot of it. I mean, there's just no way around it. There's no watershed technique out there that you can implement in 1 year and then fix it. Even if you put a sewer system around the entire lake, all that material is still in the lake, and it's still going to be contributing to the negative condition. So even the technique that we think is probably the most, one of the most, I know a lot of lakes talk about it, is, hey, let's put a sewer system around it. That is a really good step, but it's not going to change the lake overnight. So that's why management has to be sort of a marriage of those two items, short and the long.
So we need a plan. Thanks.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What, you both went to Oneonta. What's a red dragon, and where does it exist up near Oneonta? Just wondering.
Very good question. I also went to ESF and I identified more with my notes.
Got it.
I don't know the background.
I know.
Yeah, 2 years is enough. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Both went to Oneonta. What's a red dragon, and where does it?
Working up some kind of interface with whoever's got that $10 million. have names and DEP that are not totally against the idea of turning some of that loose. I know it's dedicated. But anything that will help like that one. Yep. Half of it, 5 million, would probably do all septic systems, make them enhanced septic systems. And do a lot of money they need. That would probably be specifically on.
So you always know my office is open for you. Yeah, you're gonna grow the beard though. That's all.
Residents and yourself. Working on those people who might be able to turn that money loose.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
Can't hear
Jim.
anything, can't, what are you saying?
All righty, let's move on to number 3 here. Tax Judiciary Settlement. Roland, do you have on this Tamarack and Vine, you want to give us an update on that?
Yeah, Teresa and I, worked with the, owners, council to arrive at, what we think is number 3 here. We made them produce the closing statement. On the purchase of property, that's the best indicator of value. And, it did support their position that a reduction was warranted. There was some thought, honestly, that, someone had paid a delinquency, and it wasn't reflected in the closing statement. But through the good offices of Michelle, we were able to show that that delinquency had occurred many years prior and was not part of consideration for the settlement.
Okay.
So if you figure if you just say the tax rate is $300 per thousand, you're looking at refunds total county, school, and town, somewhere around $10,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Rob, 1 second.
Hold on, please.
I'm still hearing feedback and stuff. Can we,
Yeah.
It's about,
Is there-
200.
can you-
It's low on.
If there's someone on, if you have,
I'm hearing it. but-
Aaron, can you just mute the people who may be on Zoom watching this?
Do they have any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you. So anyway, so 10,000, sorry.
Yeah, and perhaps even less. I'm just averaging a tax rate of 300. Tony says it's closer to 200.
220, 250, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So
okay.
it's even less.
It's that mic that's causing a problem, I think. That's, I just got a note from somebody.
I think, when it was court, someone had unplugged up front that comments, but we're getting that mic in the camera, so we're getting it in here. So
Okay.
it's just in the room movement, probably doing.
It sounds like somebody's talking, but.
Could just be the echo from us.
could be.
That was the first one.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Okay, so where are we with that?
So if you agree with that analysis, then you should consider the resolution that's at the bottom of the memo I provided. Authorize the town attorneys to execute a consent judgment in the following tax certiorari matter. Tamarack and Vine Realty Company versus Somers, index number 62457-2020.
Is that in the supporting documents?
I mean, I said,
Oh, okay.
somebody showed me this.
I didn't see it. It's not in the supporting document.
Somebody showed it to me. I mean, these are not huge numbers.
No, they're fine. I just want to see it before I vote on it.
Usually these things are put on the consent agenda.
Yeah, so we can move to the consensus agenda for next week, next month. All right? Or
Can we do it tonight?
We
We can do it tonight.
Tonight.
Possible tonight.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm just looking at the ones that are on the,
But, quickly, I mean, I'm okay with this. I mean, essentially, you're saying you work with these guys. It's valued correctly
and they give the supporting documents.
and it's small enough that it can be handled.
Okay. I just saw it. Thank you.
It's not,
Oh,
it doesn't
gotcha.
have to be up there.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town attorneys to execute a consent judgment in the following tax certiorari matter. Tamarack and Vine Realty Company versus Somers Index number 62457-2020. 5/7/2020. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, number 4, best plumbing special exemption use permit. Patty, we're just gonna put that over to next month. We just have a few more things to discuss and get some information on as well. Number 5, authorize the supervisor to sign the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation agreements related to the channel stabilization project at 110 Woodcrest Terrace per referral from Stephen Warfel Engineer Department. Make a motion to authorize supervisor to sign. Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 6, authorize going to bid for two 2022 Chevrolet Trax all-wheel drive LS not to exceed 35,000 per vehicle, and one 2023 Chevrolet Trailblazer all-wheel drive LT not to exceed 40,000 per September 2nd, 2022. Email from Bob Keough, Finance Director.
Which departments are these going into?
Yeah.
I asked that same question. And I got an answer. Hold on. I can't remember what he said. Do you know off the top of your head?
Go ahead, would you,
Oh, I'll pull it up right now.
Building, parks and
no,
He said, nutrition and building. Building on multiple cars, since they're very difficult to source.
yeah, when we were last month, we had made a motion to authorize to go out for that as well, for bids for that, so, but they came back in a little bit higher than we like, so we like to, see what else is out there.
Well, and as we know, building now has technically 2 new people, because
Correct.
one switched positions, so we have Chuck and Taylor, and so they basically don't have enough vehicles
Correct.
for all of them. We have 1 new person. But keep in mind, no, Chuck, we did buy a truck, we had a truck for them. So who's using the truck now?
Which one?
Your big van,
I think Taylor's using
is
that,
he?
yeah,
Okay. So,
So.
that's who they're for. And we're looking for,
3 total.
and electric bolts.
Okay, yeah. Anybody else?
No, that's
Good.
good. I asked the same
Okay.
question last week.
We need to set,
I'd like to make a motion to authorize going to bid for the vehicles.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So moved. Number 7, authorize the supervisor to execute the following. I can read all 3, or we,
As listed.
as listed, make a motion to adopt
And
A, B, and
just let
C.
me- Rob, just real
Go ahead.
quick, I'm just making sure, I'm assuming by Tommy's note that all 3 of these have been responsive when we need them.
Mm.
And they've, you know, because these are our
Yeah, that was-
these are our
Yes.
emergency guys. I want to make sure we haven't had any issues.
No, we haven't had any issues. I mean, we had
Something happened, yeah, but
for the
overall,
mo-
Tommy's happy.
for the most part, overall happy, right? We've
Okay.
had some issues here at Town Hall. Emergency on a Saturday, pretty receptive.
Okay.
Everything happened.
We just want to make sure, because if there are emergencies, we want to be able to make sure we pick up the phone and they're here
Yeah, they're on
quickly.
time.
This would come under professional services or whatever we call that. So it's not necessary to go out for other
No, these are, these
renewal.
they did, this
They
is a 2-year extension of their contract, which is in the original bid document.
Right.
That there is a RFP. There is a clause in there stating that we can request them to extend it for 2 years if we so choose.
Okay, all right, and we so choose rather than going.
And
ahead.
then
going out.
2 years after this, we'll have to do that whole process again.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And for those watching, these are the emergency contractors that we would use for plumbing, plumbing and heating, electric and HVAC.
Yeah, as long as they're responsive.
Yeah, that's all I can.
The rate is actually lower before this happened. If you go back years ago when, Tom, like you probably remember, when in one case, somebody had to call an electrician because to flip up as a circuit breaker, it would cost $250 or something
Yeah.
like that. And so it seemed like there had to be a better way by going out with these contracts. We're not going to call whoever we can get. We have these people who are online, just as a school district does. And when we need them, they
Yeah.
come and this is the rate that is paid and we agree to it up front. It's a better way of budgeting and billing for sure.
But is there a service level agreement for response time? I think that's where you were going. I thought that's where you were going.
No, I just want to make sure we're happy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
That's a
know what
simple-
that
that's a simple-
we've been time frame as long as.
I haven't heard anything negative.
Yeah,
Just wanted to make
as long
sure.
as the people use it, as long as they're happy. I'm
Okay,
My face.
All right. so-
Motion to adopt A, B, and C as mentioned above. Take a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Patty, let's do add on for number 8 here.
You want to take number 4?
no, we already did.
You did?
Yeah.
I must have missed it.
He's carrying it over.
Number 8, tree removal as per memo from Steve
Okay.
Ralston, Superintendent of Parks and Rec, dated 9/7/2022 for a couple of trees removed in Bailey Park.
These are dead trees.
these are
or
dead
dying
trees. Dying trees, yes.
The 2 arborists, I believe, have looked at it and said they should be removed.
Right.
Yep.
One way or another, they
Independent
just had to come
arborists.
down.
Independent arborists,
got a
not the same one.
Either-
Yeah,
That's right.
not the same one.
Surgeons come. They're
Yeah,
either
that's
falling
not the
down
same
or
one
taking
saying
them
it
down.
twice.
Yes. Like to make a motion to approve the tree removal. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Current vacancies, Affordable Housing Board, 3 2-year terms ending 7/11/2024. Assessment Board of Review, 1 5-year term ending 9/30/2023. Library Board of Trustees, a 1 5-year term ending 12/31/2025. Partners in Prevention, there's 2 3-year terms ending 12/31/2022. And Partners in Prevention, 1 3-year term ending 12/31/2023. Upcoming vacancies, terms expiring here in 2022. Assessment Board of Review, 1 5-year term ending 9/30/2022 here at the end of the month. I'd like to make a motion to authorize a reappointment of Michael Bayless to the Somers Affordable Housing Board for a 2-year term ending July 11th, 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Anthony, I just want to ask you a question. Because you know a lot about it. Partners in Prevention, that's a committee. So there's not an assigned number that like there would be the planning board or zoning board. We can add to it as we see fit. Is that right?
It's a committee, so it doesn't have any voting authority.
Right.
And there is a set number there, but the way they work it is they have a set number, then they have post members.
Yes.
And when a vacancy happens, they bring somebody up from the bench.
It's minor league. So, how many are in that then as
I don't
committee
re-
members?
I don't recall. off the
Okay.
top of my
Yeah, I
head,
don't
like 7.
Something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
you have somebody in mind?
I do not at the current time, but I will search for.
Consensus agenda. I'd like to make a motion to move the consent agenda as presented. I'd like to get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Calendar here. Okay. Our next town board work session will be October 6th, 2022. It's at 7 p.m. We also have October 13th, our town board regular meeting at 7 p.m. as well. November 10th, we are combining our town board work session and our regular meeting. And then again, December 1st, 7 p.m. town board work session, and December 8th, 7 p.m. for our town board regular meeting as well.
And we're combining it because of
Elections.
early voting.
And at some point in there, we'll have, I'm assuming the budget hearings.
Yes, and we'll have budget hearings as well. And then if we want to have some announcements here, so the first one on the list is Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning
Oh.
British monarch, died earlier today. She was 96 years old.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The only queen I know.
Yeah. And then 9/11 Patriot Day Remembrance Ceremony, our 21st anniversary will be on Sunday, September 11th, 4 p.m. Bailey Park, site of the Somers Unity Garden. That's Route 100 and 202. Parking is available at the Elephant Hotel and St. Luke's Episcopal Church,
So 4 p.m. this Sunday?
4 p.m. this Sunday.
You know, the newspaper had a listing of all 9/11 ceremonies. We weren't on that.
We were.
No,
We were.
Lowhead had.
Oh, Loha then?
Yeah.
Wonder why we weren't on it. Somers Partners in Prevention, Narcan training, Thursday, September 15th. That's from 7 to 8 p.m. Somers Library, Reese Park, 80 Primrose Street. We also have the Somers Women's Club Annual Tag Sale, Sunday, September 18th. It's from 9 to 4 p.m. Reese Park, 82 Primrose Street. There'll be garden supplies, books, toys, jewelry, houseware, furniture, vendors, bake table, and much, much more. On that same day, Sunday, September 18th, we have Celebrate Somers with the Somers Chamber of Commerce. That is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's at the Somers Town Center, 325 Route 100. Lots of kids' activities. There'll be food, music, dancers, dozens of vendors. It's entertainment for all. We need volunteers for Keep Somers Beautiful. Saturday, September 24th, 2022, and Sunday, September 25th. That's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Supplies and registration at the Town Hall, the Elephant Hotel. Pickers and beds for a $10 deposit in cash. We have E-Waste Recycling Day, which is coming upon us here in October. We want to get the word out for that. That is from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Somers Intermediate School, 240 Route 202, Somers, New York. $10 per car donation, and that will go to Keep Somers Beautiful. And then again, on September 1st, we have our food scrap recycling in the town of Somers. That is at the Highway Department. We kicked that off. We do not supply containers or bins or compostable bags, but we went on Amazon, and you can purchase those on Amazon. They'll be at your house in no time at all.
I think it's important to mention that they're compostable, not biodegradable. Found those two things. Biodegradable, muck up the works, and compostable adds to the compost.
Correct.
So just want to remind everybody that school tax payments are due by September 30th. Make sure everything clears by the 30th.
Right.
And although it's not under our auspices, estimated federal and state taxes are due this month as well. So ladies and gentlemen, open up your wallets.
Tom, anything?
No,
Yes.
I'm good.
No? Bill?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome as of yesterday, a new member of several Somers families, baby girl Tempio Cucharella. Born yesterday, mom and baby are doing fine. Dad's a little weak in the knees because he knows what college is going to cost him.
It'll be less than 18 years. Don't worry about it. For sure.
It'll be less than $18 million.
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else,
Actually, there is
go
just the football game tomorrow.
football game?
Mr. Councilman Faulkner was right. It is home. I believe it's 6:30, which normally they're 7,
6:30.
but I think it's 6:30, which is strange.
A little different.
So against John Jay, so it should be a good game.
Go
So
Tuskers.
come on out.
That's it.
Also, a week from Saturday is Constitution Day in the
Oh,
United
it is.
States.
There we go.
And
Oh,
as
mine right here.
Councilor Faulkner has his, I have mine.
Don't
And
hold
so
that.
that's a day that should be a national holiday, in my opinion. We celebrate the Declaration of Independence, and the foundation of this country is the Constitution. And with so many discussions about constitutional rights, everybody should have a pocket constitution. So I've given out over 4,000, and I will keep giving them out. So on Saturday the 17th, or at Celebrate Somers, I will the day after, I will have a supply of these, so that every living person will have one eventually. But even on the front page of the Somers Record today, a little, somewhat of a controversy, or maybe not, within the town hall, and someone visiting and saying it's about constitutional rights and freedom of the press. A lot of people throw around, and I'm not saying the person didn't, but people throw around, I got a constitutional right. Many times it actually doesn't apply, or maybe it does apply. So get your pocket constitution right here, everybody. Get your pocket constitution, but celebrate Constitution Day. And one day it should be a national holiday. It is that day on which the Constitution was first ratified by the required 9th state, which it was on this date, 1788.
Well, nice. Well, on that note,
There you go.
I'd like to motion to close the town board regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Night, everyone.
Good night.